everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. Hold on a second while I turn up the microphone. Let's go up to about 3 and see what happens there. You might notice I gotta turn that up even further. You might notice I'm sounding a little bit different here as I'm setting up my microphone. I'm still a little bit low, but I'm adjusting things. What I'm doing is I actually brought in my stationary microphone from my desk. So I'm testing how everything sounds with that. Because what I'm thinking about doing is bringing a stationary microphone in here that I might be able to use. Hold on. Let's go 7 decibels there. That's still not very high. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm actually going to turn that up even a little further. But like I said, what I'm thinking about doing is instead of using my lapel microphone, bringing in a more stationary microphone that I can use in here. But anyway, while I get that set up, I will introduce what we're doing tonight. So what we're doing tonight is after our game of, I'm trying to remember what we were even playing last week. Maybe I can get at the OBS video to tell me. Let's see. It wasn't Twilight Inscription. It wasn't Undaunted 2200 Callisto. After our game of Expeditions last week. That's what we were up to. After our game of Expeditions last week, we're stepping into an RPG world as we play Star Wars Force and Destiny by Edge Studios. As I've mentioned before, in this universe, there are actually 3 games. I'm trying to remember what the other 2 are. Age of Empire, I want to say, Edge of Rebellion, and Force and Destiny. I think Age of Empire involves like a rebellion. Then there's Edge of Rebellion probably for the Outlaws, and Force of Destiny is more around the Force-sensitive stories. So the one game of that world I've picked up is the Force-sensitive one, Force and Destiny. So the last time we played this game, we actually played through the beginning adventure in the last couple of scenarios where we were going through trying to save Malefax. But as it turns out, he wasn't the mastermind of the events behind Mountaintop Rescue, which, as we are learning that later. So it was only possible because of special circumstances. Apparently, he was serving the fallen Jedi Rav Naran, who was imprisoned in stasis within the temple depths. Rav Naran could project his spirit from his imprisoned body and guide Malefax past the temple's defenses, letting him bypass the other security protocols. The gatekeeper doesn't know anything about this, and is also unaware that Malefax was able to tamper with the internal systems. The final consequences are only felt in the 3rd act of the adventure that we're going into eventually. But I'm thinking tonight's going to probably be a test stream, a test mostly with the new microphone, and also help me get the feel back for how the game works. So we're going to jump in and get into this. So where we pick up, we've got our same heroes that we had before. We have Kaveri, who is our Togruta Seeker, and Dao, who's our Zabrak Mystic. Assuming this is eventually a campaign I'm going to go into, I'm eventually going to have custom characters built so I can tell my own stories in this world, and eventually get my own. I do have some pre-written adventures, such as the one we're going to start into tonight, but I eventually want to be able to write my own stuff. I've got a lot of Star Wars-esque ideas floating around in my head, some of which have been inspired by some of my adventures in Star Wars The Old Republic, like eventually maybe bringing in more dark side characters and all of that stuff. So we'll be getting into that. Notes here on beginning sessions. So we'll go ahead and generate our Destiny pool right away to figure out what kind of what kind of Destiny we'll have on this. So I'll roll the Force die, which is basically a special D12 with various faces on here. So I'll roll this for each character. Kaveri first. We'll generate a dark side point. And then for Dao, we'll generate another dark side point. So what these Destiny points are I forget what they're actually called. I don't think they're called destiny points. But what they are is they're for who can reroll. Since we've got two light aligned characters, the dark alignment on this side means I can spend them as essentially the game master to be able to make the characters' lives miserable. Basically, make them reroll a check if there's something particularly critical I need them to pass. Whereas on the other side, on the light side, that's something that the characters can spend if there's a check that they really want to make sure they pass. So the dark sides for the basically it's based on the alignment of the characters. So in this case we've got two light side characters, so the dark side points are for the GM to make their lives miserable, which is not a good session, not a good way for them to be starting the session. As we'll have two dark side points that are only available to the GM to roll as the game master to make the characters' lives miserable. So, coming back to the gatekeeper, so it earned them the favor, but they haven't. But okay, so yeah, we've already earned the favor of the gatekeeper by driving Malefax out, but the gatekeeper is going to appear to Kaveri and Dow after they wake up in the meditation chamber. Basically, the gatekeeper at the end of the last adventure, I kind of glossed over the end of the adventure a little bit, but the gatekeeper essentially gave them run of the temple to get some rest, let them recover a little bit. So we find our heroes in the meditation chamber as they're trying to meditate on the Force and the implications of everything going on. The gatekeeper appears to them, says to them, "Thank you for all of your help with this, but there's a little bit more maintenance that needs to be done. We need to maybe get some repairs in here. There were some sensors that would make it easier for me to project. But the problem is these sensors are in out of the way locations, so we need to go climbing around for these. So we need to go after these sensors. There's also spooking a lot of the wildlife, so we'd like to get the former inhabitants back to their homes and track down some of the creatures to try to entice them back toward the temple. I've also noticed some of the infrastructure going on me, so I'd like to do a little bit of maintenance on that. So the two of them will say, "Okay, we can help you out with all of that." So the gatekeeper will point them to a few of the sensors that are around. So let me make a note of some of the sensor locations. Let's see. Atop Mount Telek. Deep in the southern forest. And over in the walls of the gorge on the temple grounds. It would help if I could spell gorge properly in my notes. Okay, there we go. So as we look around the temple, looks like we've got one of our projectors down here. Might be a little bit hard to see, but it's right over here. Let me see if I can zoom the map in on that so you can actually see what I'm looking at rather than me kind of rambling about that. So let me get into the webcam. I'll be checking on the video as well at the end of this just to see how the camera, not to see how the camera is playing out, but to see how the sound is coming through before I decide if I want to invest in a dedicated stationary mic in here, or if I want to, or if I even want to ping pong the Razer back and forth. I'm not warm to that idea though, or if I just want to stick with the lapel microphone or maybe invest in a new microphone. But you can see down here, here's one of our projectors. So looking at our mechanics checks, neither one are great at mechanics. So I guess that'll be our first order of business then. We'll come over here and try to repair this projector. So the two of them will venture over here together, staying close just to make sure that there are no surprises. That way they also don't get ambushed. So who's going to try to make the check? Well, it doesn't really matter either one. I guess I will have. Actually, they're both at the 2 green, which actually that's not bad. So I think we will have. Well, let's figure out. I think the first thing we need to decide is if this one has been. This projector probably is going to be the most. What's the word I want? The most likely to have survived, so probably the least likely to be damaged. So we'll go with this being a fairly easy check. So I'll give. Well, if Kaveri make this roll, I'll give her 2 green dice on this one, which, as you might recall, we've got our symbols on the dice. That's an advantage, so a positive side effect that's a positive side effect. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the success. So that's what we want on the success. This one's going to be an easier check. So what we'll be looking for here is we've got the threat symbol on here and the failure symbol on here. So basically, if these symbols outnumber our successes, which are those, the check is considered to be failed. So I'll bring my notebook in a little bit closer. So this is actually for a sensor in the temple. This is a 1 purple die check. All right, so I'll zoom this back out. Now that you guys have at least seen what I'm doing, I'll zoom this back out so hopefully I can get the dice tower in shot. So we'll zoom that all the way back out. Once it decides, there we go. And we've got the dice tower in shot. So let's see what happens on our check as Kaveri is going to make this sensor check. And Jester Clip Encounters, probably on Fields of Fire. I stopped in a little earlier when I saw you unboxing that. Let me move the map just a touch so I can bring the dice tower a little bit more clearly into shot. Keep my company and enjoying listening. I'm actually glad you're here, Jester, because I mentioned this at the top, but I don't think you were here yet. I'm testing out using my Razer microphone in here instead of that lapel microphone that I normally use when I'm in the game room streaming. So I probably sound different. How's the sound coming through on that? So if you could let me know how that's coming through while I make this first check. So let's see what Kaveri's able to do with this check. Let's see, so we rolled 2 threat symbols. We've got 1 advantage and a success. So we do succeed, but there is a threat of some kind. The question is, what do we want to do with that threat symbol? So it's essentially the way this works is, think of it as in Mythic. It's like it's the yes but, yes and, yes no, and no but. So it's almost going back to the example of the car in a what's the word I want? Post-apocalyptic scenario. Say you find a car, do sound different, sounds a bit better, loud and sounds good. So part of the reason I've had to adjust it a bit is because I'm actually moving around, whereas the microphone is staying in one place. So it probably is a bit more clear. I'm thinking I'm either going to pick up another microphone I can leave in here, or just ping pong my Razer back and forth. It might be easier for me to just pick up another microphone and leave one in here. So what I was saying is, you tally up your advantage, failures, your advantage or threats, and your successes and failures. So depending on how the numbers come through, you might succeed, but there's a threat. You might fail, but you get an extra benefit. And similarly, you might fail with an extra penalty and succeed with an extra bonus. In this case, we did get an advantage. We did get a success, but we got an advantage and 2 threats. So we succeed with a threat. So succeed would help if I could spell succeed. So let me look here at a way to spend the extra failure. Let's see. And of course is there a way to spending threat and despair in combat? So we're not doing that. We're obviously not in combat. This is just an action trying to repair some of the sensors. So I think the threat there maybe means could mean we get attacked. Actually, that would make sense. Let's see if there's an enemy of some kind in here that we might be able to use. Is there a bestiary in here? Yeah, it looks like there's a bestiary in here. Very limited bestiary from the looks of it, though. Creatures. So what would we maybe encounter? Actually, there's something in here that we might be able to use. I don't want to go too far into the adventure just yet. So a threat of some kind. Didn't get this one. Random events, random enemies showing up, different every game, solo only. Oh, are you talking about Fields of Fire, or what are you looking at? I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this threat. So it looks like the check's going to succeed, but maybe the threat here is just that it takes a lot longer than we expected it to, which made Dow a little bit paranoid, but we end up breathing a sigh of relief that nobody else comes through. I think that's what we'll go with. So just, plus we're not really under pressure anyway. Took a lot longer, so it just took a lot longer than expected. We're not really under a threat. Fields of Fire you're talking about. Yeah, it just never really, honestly, it never really caught my eye. Plus I've got so many other games to get to in my collection right now that it just never really caught my eye, really. And actually, I'm going to go see if I can find my book with the original adventure for this one, so I'll be right back while I see about that. All right, found the book I was looking for that let's click into the right screen. So it was the Ice Wolves I probably could have used earlier, but again, didn't have it at the time, so it just ended up that it took a lot longer than we expected it to. So we're exploring around the temple, and now we need to try to coax the wildlife out. That's among the other things that we're doing. So now that we've repaired that sensor, the gatekeeper appears to us, thanks us for repairing the first sensor, and tells us that there are several more out there. There's also some of the wildlife out there. Maybe we can get the wolves that attacked us earlier and try to tame them to maybe come back and be a part of the ecosystem. At least that's the hope. So go ahead, explore around the area, see what you can do about bringing some of the life back. So we'll actually leave the proper temper area. If it does get interesting, you can send me volumes 1 and 2 of Fields of Fire. I've already got that big box coming through, and I was looking at getting a couple of the Undaunted games as well, in addition to Callisto. Noble Knight's got a collection on for Undaunted, Normandy, North Africa, and the Reinforcements expansion for $80. But I'm not sure if I want to pull the trigger on that just yet. Especially since my first experience with Callisto was maybe a little bit suspect, but I'm willing to give it another look. So we're leaving the temple, coming back down Mount Telek. Actually, there was another sensor on top of Mount Telek. There was one in the temple. Let's go. Is there an easy way we can get to Mount Telek from the original map? Actually, maybe we can go up here, up to the statue up here, like there's a sensor up here. Probably one that's been a little more beaten up by the weather. Let's roll a D100. 1 to 40, 1 to 49, actually 1 to 50, it's been beaten up by weather. So we'll say an average check. 51 to 100, it's survived pretty well, and so it'll be another average check. All right, that's a 96, so it's definitely, so it hasn't taken much abuse despite the weather. Apparently this one is built of sterner stuff. So top of Mount Telic, this will be an average check, so another 1 purple die check. So we'll bring that out, and we'll give these a roll. So we'll see how we do on repairing this one. Now we've actually got a threat if we end up rolling more threat dice, and more threats on our roll. Which that actually balanced out. So we got 3 successes, which means we have an easy time repairing this one. Gatekeeper appears to us once again, thanks us for another good piece of work, and now tells us, okay, now that we've got these 2 repaired, now we can head down out of the mountain and see what we can do about repairing more of the sensors. Maybe I'll spend one of these destiny points to make it interesting. So now we'll start moving down. We'll start moving out of the mountain. Now that we're starting to leave the temple. Here we start climbing down, and we realize we remember that the going was a little bit treacherous coming up, so we're probably going to run into some problems going down as well. I'll have each character make an athletics check to try to jump down. Let's see. That'll be I'm trying to remember what the check was on the athletics. Was it 1 or 2? It might have been 1 as we were learning the game. Plus a purple die, yeah. So each character is going to make an athletics check. We will have... They both roll... Actually, Dow rolls a 3rd green die. So we'll have him roll... Actually, we'll have Kaveri roll her check first. That way I don't have to subtract the 3rd die. So we'll have Kaveri roll her athletics check first. All right, we get plenty of successes. Actually, we succeed, but with a threat. Athletics. Kaveri. Succeed with threat. So maybe the threat that we run into here is that it turns out there was a rogue group of mercenaries that we had to deal with. So maybe we step into a trap of some kind and we have to deal with another group of mercenaries. We thought we dealt with them all, but there's another group that we have to deal with. I think that's probably what we'll go with. But let's see what Dow rolls on his athletics check. We'll give him the same difficulty there. 1 purple die, but he rolls 3 green dice. He succeeds with no problems, so he probably is able to spot the trap, and we realize that he's got a group of mercenaries. So succeed. So now we're going to have to fight another group of mercenaries. Question is, how many mercenaries are in this group? Given that we decimated most of them, I think the biggest die I want to roll for this, I should have a D4 in here. I've got a couple D4s in here. I mean, I guess while I'm thinking about it, if you're offering volumes 1 and 2, I'll definitely take a look at them, but don't go out of your way to send those to me. You've already sent me a big box of stuff. I'll take a look at that first. So let's see how many mercenaries are in this group. We've got 4 mercenaries in this group. That's going to be a bit of a problem. That was from the trap that Kaveri tripped. So we've got 4 mercenaries, and now we're going to have to fight them. Fortunately, I've already got the threats here. So let me get my group of mercenaries out. Let me see what I can use. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what do I want to do here? Movement's been largely... That is one thing I don't necessarily like in this game, is where this movement's basically been abstracted, where it's moving within ranges, not necessarily map spaces. So, well, we'll work with map spaces, though. I think that's probably the best way to visualize it. Let me see what I've got for a mountain map. I've got to have something I can use. I got a map here I can use. So we'll use this as our encounter map. So let's say we're over here. And then we've got the group of mercenaries. So we're over here, the group of mercenaries is lying in wait over here. Let's say they're scattered in a formation, something like that. We can get that die out of the way here. Now, how do we determine initiative? I'm trying to remember how we determine initiative. Normally determined by a skill check, each makes a cool check. So if the character was not expecting a fight, makes a vigilance check instead. So notes the results of each check and ranks them in order. Alright, so initiative check. So Kaveri, Advo's, so Advo's Mercenaries 1. So it looks like we're going to get a bonus fight here as well. Their vigilance is a yellow die. Vigilance for us, Dow rolls yellow and 2 green. Kaveri rolls yellow and green. And that's as a no purple difficulty dice. So these are simple checks. All right, so I'm going to roll Kaveri's check first. That is no successes, but an advantage and a triumph. Oh, triumphs also count as successes. Advantages don't. So Kaveri gets 1 success. Dow, on his vigilance check, gets 1, 2 successes. So Dow gets 2 successes. The Advo's Mercenaries get a yellow die each. So Mercenary 1 has no successes. Let me get some... Actually, I should have some small dice over here. I thought I did. Ticker dice, but that's not exactly what I want. I do know the dice I want, though. I want something small. Perfect. So we're just going to grab 4 of these. I should probably leave a set of these small dice over here. That way I can use them for stuff like identification. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1's got no successes. 2 has no successes either. This would be easy if all 4 of my Advo's Mercenaries roll no successes. 3. Apparently it's going to be a case of ask and ye shall receive. Let's see what 4 gets. 1 success. Okay. Well, that's still somewhat easy, and in ties, PC check beats an NPC check. Okay, notes from... Okay. So the way initiative order is going to go is it's going to go Tao, then Kaveri, then Mercenary 4, then 1, 2, and 3. That'll be our initiative order. So now we have to fight these guys. Okay, so Tao up first. Let's see. He would have to get into melee range. So, but the problem is we're starting at long range from the mercenaries. So we can perform an attack, or we can perform an action and a maneuver in any order. So what kind of move do we want to have Tao make? I guess the question is there anything around that we might be able to use here, potentially? Let's make a... Oh, what the? Hang on, I will be right back. What the hell? I am not expecting a delivery tonight. Where are my keys, by the way? Keys are probably still in my pocket. Oh, I take that back. I am expecting a delivery. No, it turns out what the something was going on was I forgot I actually was expecting an Amazon delivery. I was just expecting it to be here when I got home from work tonight. Not that he would come by now and blast the buzzer for that long. Because normally that buzzer does not take that long, especially when my buddies on my group game day stop by. They usually just press the button. They don't hold it down for too long. So yeah, in that ramble, it is an Amazon delivery I was expecting. So where was I? Oh yes, Tao would be moving into, so we're starting at long range. I think he would move into medium range. So I'll move him about there. And then he's going to ready his walking stick, and that'll be his attack. Then for Kaveri, she's got a ranged weapon she could use, I believe. Yes, she's got a blaster rifle that she could use. From long range, she's going to aim at Mercenary 4 from long range with that. She rolls a yellow, and three green. But what kind of difficulty does she need for that? Let's see. I'm trying to remember what kind of difficulty it is from range. Is it 1 difficulty per range level? That sticks in my head, but I wouldn't swear to it. Shooting a target at long range. Okay, so yeah, we need 3 purple dice as well for this. And I need the dice cup because I don't think my hands are big enough to handle 7 dice. So Kaveri is shooting at this mercenary at long range. And she deals 9 damage plus... Actually, she deals 9 damage on a hit plus 1 per success rolled. Okay, so we get So we do get 2 successes, but we also get 2 advantages and 4 threats. So something happens. She goes through his soak value and 7 damage besides. So Mercenary 4's got 1 health left. But I'm thinking maybe the weapon jams. Well, actually, a blaster wouldn't really jam. So it was probably readying the weapon was her maneuver, and then she shot with it immediately. So maybe it backfires or something. That'll probably be it, and I'll have her suffer 2 wounds on the backfire, and I did bring a pencil in here for that. So 2 wounds for Kaveri. And that was it. And Mercenary 4 is now very much bleeding. And then does she want to take a second maneuver? Yes, she is going to suffer 2 strain. She can suffer 2 strain to perform an additional maneuver. So she's also going to take 2 strain to aim, which will give her a boost die on her next action. So it's a d6 that I can roll, which will give her additional successes. I'll put that by Kaveri to remind me that she's got that boost die. Okay. That went right through his soak value. Actually, I believe that's how soak works. That it goes through... Let's see. I'm just trying to remember... I'm trying to remember what soak value's for. Boost and setback dice. Performing an attack. Okay, yada yada yada. Dealing damage and suffering wounds suffered by characters. Okay, so it's actually reduced by soak rating. So they have 4 soak rating, which means the 9. Actually, so it just reduces the damage. 10, 11, reduced by 4. So yeah, we get to the same place anyway. Okay, so Mercenary 4 has got 1 wound left on him. Then, so now we're over to the mercenaries now. So Mercenary 4 is going first. He's going to attack Dao at medium range with his pistol, and he's going to roll a yellow, 2 green, and 2 purple dice because of the difficulty. So Mercenary 4 is now attacking Dao. Alright, so that is 1 success, and so that's 1 success because the triumph does count, but 3 advantage and 2 threats. So he is going to get some kind of advantage, but he is going to ultimately fail the check. So let's see what I can do with the advantage in combat. So he's going to add... Looks like he's just going to get a boost die on... Looks like they're going to take a boost die on... Who would be next? 1. So character 1's check. So that's Mercenary 1. Mercenary 1's now got a boost die, so he's going to move up here. He's going to move over here. And then he's going to attack Kaveri from medium range. He's got the boost die. And then don't forget, Kaveri took the 2 wounds from her blaster rifle misfiring. Let's see, that is 2 successes and a threat. So that means... So Kaveri has got a soak of 3. Pistol does 6 damage, which is going to be reduced by soak. So Kaveri will take another 3 wounds, which will bring her up to 5 wounds. She's got 12 health on her. But the 2 threat means his pistol is going to backfire as well. So he's going to take 1 damage from that. that's 1 wound for Mercenary 1. Then Mercenary 2 is going to move into medium range as well and also take a shot at Kaveri. She's got the heavier weapon, so it makes more sense that they're going after her. Let's see, that is 1 success, 2 failures. So the check fails, but an advantage, which will give... he shouldn't have had the boost die, but Mercenary 3 will get it. So that check fails. Mercenary 3 is going to go after Dao with that boost die. Let's see, so that check got 1 success thanks to the boost die, and 4 advantages. 4 advantages to 3 threats. So Dao will take, that's reduced soak by 2, right? Yes. So Dao actually takes 6, reduced by 4, so reduced by 2. So Dao will take 4 wounds as well. Which that's problematic. And then the advantage will give the next boost by the allied characters the boost die. So now we're back to a new round already. This isn't going well. Dao's going to move into short range. Then he's going to suffer 2 strain, so he can move into melee range with Mercenary 1, and he'll use his walking stick on. He'll use his walking stick on Mercenary 1. And then does melee get a combat die or a difficulty die? Plus modifiers based on weapon used. I don't think there's a check based on. The attack is short range is an easy. Okay, so short range. So short range gets a purple die. And he would be dealing 5 damage on a hit plus 1 success per success rolled. Which that is a total of 6 successes. So the attack does succeed with 2 advantages. Let's see what I can do with 2 advantages here. An immediate free maneuver. So... Alright, so he's going to spend those 2 advantages to give a setback die to character 1. Which the setback die is just like a boost die, only for failures. So Mercenary 1 is going to take 2 wounds, so that'll bring him down to 3. Let's see, then Kaveri is going to move. Kaveri is going to stay at long range. Actually, she's going to move. I think she's going to move in a little bit closer. So she's going to move about here into what would be medium range. And she's going to shoot at. She's going to try to shoot at Mercenary 4 to try to finish him off? No. She's going to shoot at Mercenary 3. So she gets pink, or she gets yellow, 3 green, and 2 purple. Oh, and the blue boost die because she aimed. So she's aiming at Mercenary 3. I'll put the pen there for the time being. Gross. Well, actually, so we've got a total of 3 successes, 3 failures, and 3 advantages and 3 threats. So nothing happens on the check. That's unfortunate. So we can't use strain to make it an extra attack. So we moved and attacked. Okay. That's all good there. So Mercenary 4. So Mercenary 4 is next in the initiative order. He's at medium range to Dao, so that's where he's going to attack. He gets a boost die. 2 purple, and it's a blaster pistol. So a yellow, 2 green, and 2 purple. Alright, that is 2 successes and 2 advantages and 2 threats, so nothing happens there. Dao will end up taking another 4 wounds on that attack, which will bring him up to 8 wounds. So Mercenary 1 is going to be attacking Dao from melee range with a vibro knife. So 2 green, a purple, and the setback die, which is additional threats and failures. Okay, that's 2 successes, a failure, and 2 advantages, and a threat. So the next allied character is going to get a boost die on that. The vibro knife does 3 damage. So that's just a straight 3 damage reduced by Dao's soak, so he takes no damage from that. Mercenary 2 is going to use a pistol attack on Dao from short range. So that's, what did we say? That was 2 green and a yellow? Yes, 2 green and a yellow. A purple and a boost die. This is bad. Yowza. So the advantage and the threat cancel each other out. 3 successes, 6 damage to Dao, soak reduced by 2, so Dao ends up taking 4 damage, which brings him up to 12 wounds, which doesn't just take him out, but he's not far from it. Then Mercenary 3 is going to do the same thing on Dao, except he's at medium range this time. So that's something. Something that doesn't end up mattering ultimately, because that's plenty to take Dao out. So now Kaveri finds herself alone against this group of mercenaries that somehow survived our first round of attacks. So Kaveri now has to try to deal with these guys somehow. I guess she's going to... this is rough. She's going to attack Mercenary 1. Actually, she's going to attack Mercenary 1 since it's closest to the most immediate threat. It's at medium range. Green and another purple. Actually, she's going to aim first to get a boost die. And I'm going to realize that she can't roll to save her life. So that is 5, 6, that's 2 failures, so the attack fails. 5 advantages and 2 threats. So we failed with a bonus. Let's see, 3 advantages, negate the target. Yeah, let's go ahead and have him, when dealing damage to a target, have the attack disable the opponent or piece, except it's not dealing any damage. We'll give her ranged defense until the active character's next turn. So she's got +1 defense. She's got +1 soak right now, and she's going to need every bit of that most likely. Okay, so now we're into the mercenaries. 4 is going to move to medium range and then take a shot at Kaveri. And she's only got soak of 3, so this is bad. Really bad. So the advantage, actually, there's an extra advantage in there. So can he spend 1 advantage with a pistol? No. So he's going to do 6. He's actually going to do 6, right? Yes, 6 damage, soak reduced by 2. So she's only got 1 soak, which means she takes 5 wounds, which brings her up to 10. This isn't going to take too much longer, I don't think. 1's going to take a straight shot from medium range. Okay, we kind of need to re-roll that. Right, so yeah, it's going to end up with the same result. Succeeds, but with a threat. The extra threat doesn't matter because the rogue group of mercenaries takes Kaveri out, and that's the end of this scenario already, as both of our characters have been knocked out. So they're probably either they're going to go back to the temple to recover, or we'll have new characters for a custom campaign. But that's going to do it for this playthrough of Star Wars Force and Destiny. I do really enjoy this game, mainly because of its focus on it's actually a very simple combat system, and there's a very high amount of narrative potential in this, where rather than getting a skill value, rather than having to roll against a skill value for a check, the skill value determines what kind of dice you roll on your check, and then it's up to you basically to interpret what the results mean, especially if you start working in the advantages, despairs, threats, and triumphs. So you really have to, it's really subject to narrative interpretation based on the situation of what those roles mean for you. And I think that was a bag for, actually, that worked just fine. Never mind. So as I'm kind of rambling here, basically it's more of a narrative situation. That was tough. Yeah, that was definitely a tough scenario, and it didn't help that Kaveri inadvertently triggered a trap that ended up getting both of us taken out. So I expect we'll do something with that in the near future. I'm still figuring out what off-season content is going to look like. Because once I get done with 1985, we still have a bit of business left to go on that replay. But as I mentioned, we are very much in the tail end of this. But let me do a little bit of cleanup here, and then I will go ahead and unbox what just came in from Amazon, literally as I was filming this. It's not going to be anything really all that terribly interesting. It's more maintenance supplies than anything. It's more stuff I needed to pick up anyway. So let me get this all cleaned up, and then we'll see what that's all about. But yeah, it sounds like Jester, you think that the microphone having the Razer microphone in here worked a lot better, and the sound was clearer than it was with the lapel microphone that I was using previously. I just have to make sure I stay somewhat close to it as much as I can. Although if I'm moving around like this, projecting my voice is something else I should be able to do that can help out with making sure sound carries. So now we got to figure out what I'm going to do as far as a new microphone in here. I think for at least the first part of the weekend's videos, I'm probably going to use the Razer in here, at least for Game 7 tomorrow night, and then the sports did like the microphone. Okay. So yeah, I'm probably going to invest in another microphone that I can keep in here, another Razer, probably another stationary microphone in this style of some kind, rather than the lapel microphone I was using. Because yeah, I think I was noticing that there were some problems with the lapel microphone I was using. It sounded like it was picking me up fine, but the sound wasn't exactly where we wanted it to be. So I'll figure out what I'm going to do with Force and Destiny in the future, but let's go ahead and bring these deliveries into shot. So these just came in as I was filming. You heard the buzz of the door. So let's crack open these deliveries from Amazon and see what we've got in here. Like I said, these are mostly supply mailings, and okay, cool. So the first thing we've got in here, you may recognize these Arknight minis. This is a Zombie Horde set of minis by Arknight. These are flat plastic minis. Now I unboxed a while back a zombie RPG called Dark War by Tiny Battle Publishing and Mark Walker. I was looking for a way to get a lot of zombie minis. Admittedly, one of the first ideas I came up with was getting a Zombicide game, but I wasn't completely warm to the idea of spending $100 just to get a set of zombie minis. I wanted to be able to play the game if I was investing that kind of money in it. So I figured spending $20 for a set of zombie minis is probably a much safer idea than spending $100 for a game I'm not sure I'm going to play. Between not being completely enamored with CMON right now and never having been a big fan of Zombicide, I figured getting a set of minis like this was probably a smarter idea. But that's it for that part of the mailing. So now let's bring this mailer in the shop. And I think it opens right. Or we'll tear it just like so. And what we've got in here is another couple of packs of mini European board game sleeves. I discovered I needed these with a couple of games that you're sending me, plus the Guild of Merchant Explorers takes mini European sleeves. So I figured I'd get a couple more packs of these so I can use these mini sleeves to be able to sleeve all the cards that are coming in. So like I said, not really an interesting delivery per se, more of supplies than anything. But that will do it for this playthrough of Star Wars Force and Destiny. Definitely going to do more with this one, but I want to figure out what I want to do with it, whether I want to do pre-made adventures or come up with my own. Probably a little bit of both, but we'll think on that. We don't have to make any decisions on that now because we've got a lot of great stuff coming up on the channel coming up. Tomorrow night, we will be back at Anaheim Stadium for the first ever Game 7 on the channel in a season replay. We will be in Game 7 of the 1985 American League Championship Series between the Detroit Tigers and the California Angels. Jack Morris will be going for the Tigers, and Mike Witt will be going for the Angels. The winner will play the Montreal Expos, will host the Montreal Expos in Game 1 of the 1985 World Series on Saturday. Before that, though, Friday will feature the 2025 Summer Project Selection Show, where we will find out what the index cards I've been showing off are for. You can probably guess what they're for just by the name of the show that we're going to be having on Friday. And then Saturday, Mystical Munchies will conclude out of the Dungeons and Dragons Flavors of the Multiverse cookbook with the drink, Erlenmeyer's Dragonfire Punch. Then next week, we're playing 2 more games off of my War Room 10-game challenge list. Sunday, we're playing Twilight 2000 by Free League Publishing. And next week, we will be playing, I believe it's 5 Parsecs from Home from Modiphius Entertainment. Let me double check on that, though. Just waiting for Excel to pop up here once it decides it wants to. Here we go. Here's summer content. That's my schedule document. And yes, yes, we are playing 5 Parsecs from Home next week. So we'll be doing 2 games off my War Room 10-game list. Monday night, I'll mention this again on Sunday during the World Series game. Monday night, we're not going to have any baseball next week because Monday being the 31st of the month, I'm going to be doing Pinot with Phoenix that night instead of Game 3 of the 1985 World Series. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.